Oh, I'm sorry. Hi.
Writing for radio for 5 years and has appeared on 4 different shows on WPNG. In her free time, she enjoys baking, covering the...
Oh, thanks. Thank you. And images. And Zoe Woodbury High, a friend of mine, she told me that she had written a memoir that got accepted into Words and Images that is in part about me. And so today is my day. So Zoe is, she currently is in Germany right now doing an exchange program with Casco Bay High, and a very kind family over there has taken her in. And so I'm making a video for her so she can actually see that I perform this. Everybody say hi to Zoe. Hi. So this piece is by Zoe Woodbury High, and it's titled Ukulele Me. I'm reading the first half, so you have to buy it to read the rest. It happened with the ukulele, didn't it? I remember when I was the only one I knew who had a ukulele. The summer before 8th grade, my dad took me to a music store and bought me a $30 high-low instrument, and I set to learning to play as many Beatles songs as I could. The first was I Want to Hold Your Hand, followed by the slightly more challenging Eleanor Rigby and Something. Shortly after, I graduated to the Magnetic Fields, the best advertisement for learning to play the ukulele I can possibly think of. And then I started high school, and the ukulele was suddenly popular. Everywhere you looked, there was a ukulele. Even here in Germany, where I'm an exchange student, they're starting to pick up. They're small, portable, and universally satisfying for guitarists who like the idea of taking up another instrument, but lack true patience and commitment. The ukulele is individual and easy to play, a perfect addition to one's repertoire. People started bringing them to school, soprano ukes in soft cases. They'd walk across the grass to set down their things for another game of frisbee during lunch break. Ukulele cases slung over their shoulders, book bag in one hand, and Birkenstock sandals in the other. They'd abandon it all and take off running barefoot. I see it more perfectly in my mind than this morning's breakfast. Hippie kid, ukulele, bright blue sky. But let's go back a little first. Back to before the instrument was in, when I was a novelty. Ukulele, people would exclaim at art shows or Latin classes. How'ever did you pick that up? I went to a music store, I told the boring story. I played one, I liked it, and my dad bought it for me. Fascinating. I often strum my ukulele as I walk down the street, long skirt brushing the ground, leaves in my hair. I was self-conscious at that age, about 13, so I made it my goal to be as individual as possible. However, I often lacked the imagination for anything truly unusual, so I turned to a few staples of originality: ukulele, hat, skirt. I was falling apart, but I was also perfect. Outspoken, young, full of ideas on the outside. At the time, I only saw the uncertainty. I was constantly moody, angry, unappreciative, lonely, and I hated the way I looked and acted. It was only within the presence of certain people that I could relax. I felt like I was unfolding, and that I could see my perfection shine through. The first person was David Micklejohn. He worked at the bookstore my parents owned when I was a child, and for some reason we always referred to him by his full name, David Micklejohn. He was my childhood hero, and my brother Isaac's. When we talked about him, we treated him as a messiah. It was assumed that we both aspired to be exactly like him, although we never spoke about it. After all, who wouldn't want to grow up to be a perfect person like David Micklejohn? Could such a person exist? Our aspirations bonded us like nothing could except for our shared love for David Micklejohn. I see the image perfectly. I'm 8 or 9, sitting at a shiny silver table in the family bookstore with Isaac, cutting out mouse ears from recycled cardboard. We're having a conversation about dragons. Isaac is convinced that there's no evidence to prove their certain non-existence, that any day something could be found, a new fossil from China or Tanzania, and the world would know that dragons once existed. Maybe they even exist today, he suggests. But I'm not so sure. They're not real, I tell him with certainty. I know they would have found some evidence. I mean, where are they hiding? Why hasn't someone seen them? There could be dragons somewhere. I think you're wrong. He scrunches up his face in anger but says nothing, turning back to the mouse ear project. It's quite an effort since the scissors we're cutting with aren't used to such work. I finish my second ear, but Isaac's still struggling with his first. I turn to the roll of shiny green ribbon, trying to decide how long to make my mouse tail, and I notice someone standing behind the cafe counter. David Micklejohn waves at me, and I half-heartedly wave back. He's just recently started working at the store, and he irritates me. Mostly because he tells jokes that I don't understand, but which Isaac thinks are hilarious, and I am suspicious of anyone who tells such jokes. His specialty is pirate jokes, and he tells the same ones over and over. What did the pirates say when he came out of the closet? His face eager and excited. Mom, I'm gay. What? How did you know that? You told that joke before, I think. But isn't that sweet? He told his mom first. Yeah, okay. A few weeks after cutting out mouse ears in the bookstore, my parents go out somewhere, maybe to a movie or a restaurant. This is rare for them. When we do go out, it's almost always as a family, and they like it that way. But every once in a while, they call an acquaintance from the store to come hang out with us for an evening, and we cry as if someone had died. But the person always comes, and my parents leave, and eventually they return. And like dogs, we learn that the arrival of the babysitter and our usual rituals of frozen macaroni and cheese, building a fort in our living room, and talking about life and dragons means that our parents will be back in the morning. We believe in these rituals, and every babysitting experience of my life becomes virtually the same. We speculate, make up stories. I tell long ones, mashups of Greek myths and mystery novels, complete with talking animals. This day is no different. David Micklejohn comes to see us, and I participate in the fort and dinner just out of ritual. In truth, I'm absolutely furious with David Micklejohn for interrupting our life and completely ignoring me. He sings songs with Isaac, but I feel left out and alone. I sit in the garden watching the flowers I bought last weekend shrivel in the dirt. I don't know what's wrong with them. Perhaps they just haven't taken to the soil, but they're dying. I lie in the dirt and cry. David Micklejohn comes outside and tells me a story about unicorns. Unicorns are pretty awesome, he offers half-heartedly. They don't exist. Yes, they do. You're an idiot, I say quietly. I mean, seriously, does he think that I'm that stupid? Who is this person coming to my house and talking to me about unicorns when there's so many more serious things to think about? Things like life and death and disease. The fact that everybody dies someday, and maybe the person who says she's my mother is not my mother, and someday we'll have to grow up and live a serious life. But after calling him an idiot, I feel bad. I follow him back inside and we sit in our fort. We are quiet, the only sound Isaac's soft breathing as he falls asleep. The fort is held up by an electric fan. I lie on my back and watch the sheet above me floating, moving as if alive. Mark Melnikov has been creating poetry and appropriative writing for 40 years. He is now performance art and publishing partner of Ben Porter during the 1980s and 90s. Byrne Porter during the 1980s and 90s, and is now the literary and artistic executor of Porter's estate. He teaches creative writing, humanities, organic gardening, and film studies at Falmouth High School.